Recently in the fourth gen, it has become apparent that the trend is now to release single albums across the year rather than a mini or a full album. Whereas previously in the third gen and even at the beginning of the fourth gen, this wasn't really the case. So the question really is, why is the current fourth gen so against releasing music? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So K-pop generations are heavily influenced by the most popular groups and basically the groups from the big four. This is largely the reason why certain trends are created throughout the generation. So early on in the fourth gen, such groups released minis for their debuts and stuff like that. Some examples would be Stray Kids, Luna, G-Idol. However, as we've seen this current generation progress, more of these groups have debuted with single albums. For example, ITZY, aespa, Everglow, Treasure, Stacey, IVE, NMIXX. These groups all debuted with single albums. And then as they've had comebacks, many of them have stuck with releasing single albums rather than full albums or minis. And then since other companies see these big companies, these popular groups release single albums, they of course are incentivized to do the same. But the thing really is, if they started out at first producing minis as debuts, what changed? What happened? What incentivized these companies to switch to doing singles only? The short and simple answer for it is simply money. K-pop companies inherently want to make as much money as they possibly can. Producing tracks for an album physically costs money for the company. And when you add that onto the photo shoots they have to take, the producing the physical albums to sell, it all adds up and makes comebacks themselves quite expensive. So obviously, to make the most money, they'd want to streamline this somehow, cut down the costs in any way they possibly can. And I think producing single albums is a great way to do so. I mean, if you think about it, they don't have to produce as many tracks, but they can still sell the physical albums themselves for the same price most of the time as well. And therefore, these companies turn more of a profit. So, of course they're going to want to make single albums. That's just a no-brainer, really, if you want to make money. Also, this is less of a major point, but it also kind of inclines people to stream more, because if you only have one or two songs, it makes people want to listen more. It makes them want to, when they're yearning for more content, they go back to the old stuff, right? And if there's only one or two, there's more streaming there. And then ultimately, again, this results in the company making more money per streams. So as I said, it really just does come down to companies wanting to make as much money as they can, which really sucks. Now, if you've been on my channel before and watched my videos, you will know that I always try and do positives and negatives of a situation. So I've obviously done the same for everyone releasing single albums, and this is the positives I could come up with. First of all, it allows our favourite groups to have more comebacks per year because there's less work being put into them, making tracks such as that. They can happen more frequently, which, I mean, we love that. We love getting new content, so I'm not exactly going to complain about getting more. Also, I think generally the B-side quality goes up because they're only putting their focus on one, maybe two B-sides. You know, they can put more attention into making them good, which good music is good music. We love good music. However, it is a major detraction if, you know, there's just not much good music being made. And that leads me on to talking about some of the negatives. First of all, which in my opinion is one of the major detractions and really something quite sad, is groups build up less of a signature recognizable sound for themselves. How am I supposed to know what an NMIX mini album sounds like, when both of their title tracks sound different to each other and their B-sides specifically are complete opposites. You could say that IVE has attempted to do this, however with Afterlike and the B-side My Satisfaction, they are completely different to what they've done previously. This means that 4th gen groups have less of an identity, especially compared to those who are putting out mini albums and the 3rd gen counterpart. And overall, it really just makes 4th gen as a whole just not really have much of an identity as a whole generation. And then another negative is if the comeback is bad, it stands out like a sore thumb and is even more disappointing. If you have to wait months just to get 2 songs and both of those are bad, that's just not okay. That's really damning, I think. It almost has the same effect as Blackpink going off for years and then coming back with a bad song. Like, that is so crushing and disappointing because you don't often get content, and if it's bad, then that sucks. Fourth gen discographies are majorly suffering because of the popularization of releasing single albums each comeback. This trend can be put down to companies' greed for money and lack of care for building proper discographies, proper identities for their groups. At the end of the day, the people who are to blame for this are the companies themselves, the CEOs who only want more money in their pockets. I can't emphasize enough that this is not the group's fault. Do not hate on the groups for this. It is purely the companies. Honestly, I don't really have a solution to this single album epidemic. I guess it can only be put down to these groups have to start releasing full bodies of work rather than the singles. However, that is resting solely on the company's shoulders. And we've already gone through why they won't do that. All we can do is hope for the future that things will improve, mini albums will be made, and yeah, that's all I can really say. As always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and also comment your opinions on what you think of groups only releasing single albums. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one.